Okay, guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over DC Rebirth Cyborg, and we actually pick on the second half of the first story. Now, with that being said, this story does pick up where our last video left off at. Now, remember, at the end of our last video, Cyborg was getting ready to fight against the Justice League. And of course, you're probably wondering, well, that makes no sense. Why in the world would Cyborg fight against the Justice League? Well, you have to remember what happened at the end of our last video. That basically Cyborg ran into one of his ex-girlfriends, but the problem was, though, he did not remember her at all. And of course, he kind of wonders, why doesn't he? And so he found out by another scientist who works at Star Labs that when Cyborg became Cyborg, basically Celia Stone, the father of Cyborg, shut down certain memories of Cyborg's mind to kind of help him transition into becoming Cyborg. And one of those memories was, of course, his ex-girlfriend. And so Cyborg went to basically the same scientist to hopefully have those memories turn back on so he can remember more things about his past life. But while the scientist was working on kind of getting those memories back, and Cyborg's mind, his brain just went crazy. His dream went crazy. It turned into a nightmare where Cyborg is right now fighting against the Justice League. Now, on top of that, in the real world, Cyborg's mind has gone completely crazy. And so while Cyborg is having a nightmare in the real world, he's going around Star Labs, blowing up places left and right, and nobody can stop him. And so it's kind of like, okay, Cyborg is literally causing a lot of damage and problems for Star Labs, and no one can wake him up from his nightmare right now. His body is just going out of control. Now, you're probably wondering, why in the world is Cyborg going crazy? Well, because he was infected. Now, you have to remember, at the end of our last video as well, the real father of Cyborg, Celia Stone, was kidnapped. And he was replaced by someone who looks just like Celia Stone. But of course, this version of Celia Stone is a robot, but pretending to be a human version of Celia's. And Cyborg has no idea that he has been hanging out with an imposter this whole time. But either way, this fake Celia Stone had put some kind of virus in Cyborg's system. And so that is why Cyborg is having a nightmare right now, but also the reason why Cyborg's body is going out of control. Now, this fake Celia Stone, we have no idea what his name is yet, but right now he's trying to get revenge against Celia Stone. Not really Cyborg, but really more Celia Stone. And telling us that apparently there is some kind of connection between these two characters, the robot Celia Stone and the real human Celia Stone. Now, we do get reminded about Sarah. Now, remember, Sarah is kind of like the female scientist who works at Star Labs, but we're kind of learning a tad bit more about her character and possibly the idea that she actually likes Cyborg a lot. And that right there is huge because she kind of been helping him out with different things over the last couple books. But right now we're seeing that she was able to kind of put together a shutdown program as a way to shut down Cyborg's body and to hopefully kind of reboot his system so that he, one, has no more nightmares, but two, he'll stop attacking the people in Star Labs at the moment. But now, getting back into the mind of Cyborg, we actually do see his nightmares kind of going down memory lane, where of course he's remembering a lot of different things that happened in his life. Like, for example, actually being able to spend some time with his father. Because remember, when it came to Cyborg, there was a point where his father was no longer trying to bond with him anymore. Because remember, his mother, I forgot his mother's name. Oh my gosh. It is going to bother me for a short period of time. But either way, when it came to the mother of Cyborg, she got cancer. She was dying. And so basically you had Cyborg's father, Celias, try to find her a cure to keep her alive. And of course that meant spending less time with his son. And so Cyborg is remembering the time where his dad did spend time with him up to the point where he stopped. And then after that, a few months later, his mother died. And then after that, he remembered where his dad just buried himself into his work and did not want to spend any time at all with Victor. And you also have Victor finally remember about the breakup between him and his ex-girlfriend, the one he did not remember and we saw at the end of our last video. But all of these memories are just crashing down on him one by one. And of course, it's kind of like his system kind of saying, hey, listen, you're still in a nightmare. We showed you one good memory, but here are all of these other bad moments in your life that basically changed who you are, the person you are, into today. Now, the final part of his nightmare is actually the moment where he's confronted by some woman in a cape. Now, of course, he does not see this woman at all. Her face is missing, so he has no idea who he's talking to. But this mysterious woman in his nightmare is telling him that she was the love of his life. Now, of course, we now know it wasn't the ex-girlfriend from the past, the one he forgot about. It's somebody else. But of course, Cyborg does not remember her at all. But while he's having this conversation with this lady and trying to remember who she could possibly be, well, of course, you do have some nightmare creatures still attacking him. In the real world, his body is still going crazy. But in the real world, you have Sarah trying to give Cyborg the shutdown program that she had built to hopefully shut him down, to reboot his system, and to hopefully have him back to his normal self, which she was able to do. But of course, she got very lucky because Cyborg was choking her out. He was about to kill Sarah in real life. But luckily, the shutdown program happened. But of course, at this point, he almost killed Sarah. And Sarah is kind of scared of him, but at the same time, she's kind of like still wants to be there for him. But she does walk away because she almost died. She needs some space from him. But luckily, thanks to her shutdown program, that Cyborg is back to normal again. Now, this actually leads into a very sad moment. And what I mean by that is you do have Cyborg and Sarah actually have a conversation where you have Sarah explain to Cyborg that she still cares for him. Now, this is not her saying like, hey, I'm madly in love with you. I want to be with you and have kids on the road. That's not what she's saying. What she actually is saying is like, listen, you almost killed me. My wounds would heal. But I was actually very worried that we could possibly lose you. But I'm happy that we were actually able to save you. And so she's kind of like saying, I'm still going to be here for you because I still care for you, because I still want to be with you. Now, it's not her saying I want to be with you like boyfriend and girlfriend, but more like a friend. But you can tell that she's trying to give him all the signs in the world to say, hey, I'm madly in love with you. Now, you do have Cyborg tell Sarah about the girl in his dream, where apparently there was a woman who used to love him very, very much. But of course, Cyborg cannot remember her at all. But he says, it's great to know that there was a girl out there who truly knew me and truly cared for me. And I feel so bad that basically I cannot remember her. But maybe I did that on purpose as a way to protect her from this kind of life. Because this life is dangerous, being a hero. And of course, you have Cyborg say goodbye to Sarah, but he says, you have been a great friend. And the way this chapter closes is so messed up. Because when the chapter closes, you have Sarah open up another book. And this book has pictures. And of course, the pictures is her and Cyborg. She was the woman that used to love Cyborg very much. She was that mysterious woman that Cyborg just cannot remember. And that right there is huge. Now, when we jump into the next chapter, we actually do pick up with a random character that is going to be important for this video and also later videos down the road. But either way, this character's name is not given to us, but we do see her right now on the run. Now, as she is running away from a bunch of men who are carrying guns, there is a moment where she's trying to escape this area, which we could believe that she could be working for the CIA or some kind of government agency. But while she's trying to get away, of course, that is the moment someone fires a missile nearby her, which of course does cause an explosion, and it does send her back flying. Now again, we have no idea who she is, but as this moment ends right here in this book, we actually jump back in time to the moment where something had happened to Cyborg's mother, another kind of explosion. And of course, this is actually a flashback to what could possibly be very important for later stuff down the road, because it is Celaya Stone having this nightmare where he kind of rushed an experiment, and of course there was a huge explosion, which of course led to a bunch of radiation just being fired on to the mother of Cyborg. But of course, when Celaya Stone wakes back up, he remembers that right now he's still being held hostage by our unknown bad guy of this entire series. But of course, he is confronted by another robot. Now, this robot is actually the henchman to the main bad guy of this story. And remember, we have no idea what is the name of this new bad guy yet. All we know is that this bad guy had replaced Celaya Stone and right now pretending to be Celaya Stone. In reality, he is not, and he left a henchman robot to watch over the real Celaya Stone. Now, we actually do pick back up with Cyborg, and right now you actually have Cyborg hanging out with the character Blue. Now, Blue is the blind man we saw in the first video, of course, the blind man who could play instruments, which of course kind of led to Cyborg falling back in love with music, but also wanting to connect more with the area of Detroit that he's in right now. Now, with that being said, Blue is kind of also showing Cyborg around Detroit as a way to say, look, this is Detroit. This is your city. You told me a while back you feel like you have no soul, but you do have a soul, because to have a soul, you have feelings, and you have feelings, which means you have a soul. But now this is Blue saying that if you're going to be the hero of Detroit or just be the hero of the area, you have to actually understand the community, understand the area you're working out of. Now, when it comes to Cyborg, we have to remember that he grew up in Detroit, but of course he was never connected to the city. I'll explain why you have Blue kind of say that as well. But as Blue and Cyborg are walking around, they do run into a character known as Xenophon Clark. Yes, I know the name probably sounds wrong. I really sat down and tried to figure out how to pronounce it, even Googled it as well. But of course, I couldn't find a way to pronounce it, so I'm going by the name Xenophon for this character. Now, Xenophon is going to reappear in later books, but for right now, it's kind of DC saying, hey, this character right here, he could be important, and he is important for later stories. But either way, getting back to Blue kind of showing Cyborg around Detroit, is Blue saying, listen, like, this is Detroit. You are not technically connected to this city. Because when Blue asked Cyborg where he grew up in Detroit, you had Cyborg say, you know, I grew up here in the upper area of Detroit, but I also was homeschooled. And then once I hit high school, I went to a prep school. And so for Blue, he's kind of like, you know, that's probably why you're not so connected to this city, because you never actually had the chance to experience the city. You were homeschooled, and then you went to a prep school, and then you became a superhero. You never had the actual time to sit down and to be part of the community because of your life. And so it's Blue saying, like, you want to be this hero of this city, but you have to actually build up to the idea of knowing much about the city. Now, we actually do jump back over to Star Labs, where, of course, we actually do pick up with the government stopping by Star Labs to actually talk to Celaya Stone. Now, remember, this is not Celaya Stone, the one we know of. This is the imposter Celia Stone pretending to be Celia Stone. And right now you have the government actually asking Celia Stone, the fake one, to kind of save the life of the young woman we saw in the earlier chapter of this video. And remember, that lady was running away from a bunch of men who had guns. She ran near an explosion and she was badly injured. Now, we were left to believe she died, but she did not die. She actually survived. She's just badly burned. Now, her name is Scarlett Taylor. And so now we know her name, but we still do not know the name of our mysterious bad guy who's working behind the scenes. But either way, you do have the government saying, listen, we have a mother box. We have her. We want you to recreate the idea or the program that made Cyborg. Do it all over again, but to bring her back as a cyborg. To basically make a female cyborg. Now, Celia Stone, the real one, he would never do this because he knows what it's kind of like to put someone through the process of becoming a cyborg. And to do it all over again, he wouldn't do it because Victor went through so much. But this is not the real Celia Stone. This is the fake one who instantly agrees to say, you know what? If I can save her life, I'm going to do it. So let's do it. Bring me your mother box. I will try to save her life. And hopefully I can make you a female cyborg. Now, of course, this actually does lead into the moment where you have the fake Celia Stone actually go to Victor, Cyborg, and say, listen, I need your help to recreate the program or the process that basically made you Cyborg to help save her life. Now, of course, Cyborg is saying no, because he's kind of like, I know what it feels like to go through that entire process to become this. Why would I put someone through that kind of mess all over again? But remember, this is the fake Celia Stone who's right now kind of talking to Victor like, listen, we have to save her life. She had a life and we can give her life back to her all over again. And so basically, this is the fake Celia Stone pretending to be the real Celia Stone and trying to use that father and son relationship as a way to have Cyborg agree. And the thing is, Cyborg does agree. And they begin the process of making her a female cyborg by using Mother Box, another Mother Box, as a way to kind of make this second cyborg. Now, if you're wondering what is a Mother Box is basically oh man, I froze right there, sorry. But basically, Mother Box is a technology that belongs to Apocalypse. Now, this technology does have the ability to create boom tubes, where of course, people are able to teleport almost anywhere in the universe or multiverse. Now, of course, one of the Mother Boxes was actually used in the process of making Cyborg. But now you have another one about to be used to make a female cyborg. And at the end of this chapter, you have Cyborg say, oh my gosh, I think it's working. We are making a female cyborg. Now, when we jump into the third chapter of today's video, we actually do pick up with the birth of female cyborg. And this is huge because now you're talking about the idea of another cyborg character actually being in the DC universe. Now, with that being said, though, she's out of control because this is all new to her. She has to get used to the idea of being half woman, half machine. And so right now, she's just going around blasting up the place and you have Cyborg stepping in because he knows what she's going through. It's a lot to process. You are a human being and then one day you wake up where your mind is technically half machine, half human, and you have machine parts all over your body and you're just blasting up places left and right. It is a lot to process, but either way, thanks to Cyborg and Star Labs team, they were able to kind of shut her down. And with her being shut down, that means they can kind of work on her. So when she wakes back up, she doesn't go completely crazy all over again and continue to blow up the place left and right. Now, the next couple pages are really more of her waking back up and kind of realizing that she is now a female cyborg. Now, of course, she will have a code name. Don't worry, it's coming soon. But you do have her say, like, oh my gosh, where am I? What's going on? What happened to me? You have Cyborg kind of explain everything that happened to her that led up to the moment where she became the female cyborg. Now, of course, this is the moment where she says that she doesn't remember being in the Middle East, where, of course, she was hit by some kind of explosion. She does not remember that at all. Now, for Cyborg, he's kind of jealous of that because when it came to Cyborg, his father shut down certain memories when it came to him becoming Cyborg. But when it comes to Scarlet Taylor, well, her memory loss is because of trauma. And so the scientists are hoping that sooner or later she'll be able to regain everything that she had basically lost. Now, we do pick up with the fake Solias meeting up with the real Solias at the lab of the evil Solias. I know it's confusing. Please bear with me. But either way, you do have the evil Solias basically say that the reason why he basically approved in making the female cyborg was because he was wanting a mother box. And of course, he couldn't find one so easily. But when the government said, hey, we have one and we want you to use it as a way to make another cyborg, he was down immediately because he knows that when it comes to the mother box, yes, you're going to use a lot of his power to make another cyborg character, but it still has more energy for more things to be done with it down the road. And so when the American government thought that basically the mother box was completely drained of its energy, the evil Solias knew, no, it has a huge amount of energy that can still be used for different reasons down the road. But of course, the American government did not know that. Now, the next couple sections of this book is really more of Cyborg spending time with Scarlet Taylor. Now, when I say spending time with her, I really mean that his main purpose was to train her, to kind of help her get used to the idea of being a cyborg character. Because again, it's a lot to process. You're basically going from one day as a human into a half machine, half human character. Now, of course, throughout these sections, you do see a bond being built. And this bond is more of kind of like Scarlet Taylor and Cyborg liking one another. They're beginning to build a somewhat of a relationship, possibly blooming down the road. Now, with that being said, though, she does give herself a code name, and that code name is Variant. So there you go. That's her code name. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I kind of like the idea of having another cyborg character in the DC universe. Sadly, after this series, you don't see her that much. But either way, that's her code name. Her code name is Variant. But after learning her code name, Cyborg still continues to train her to help her get used to the idea of being a cyborg character. Now, you do have Variant kind of show Cyborg that she is quickly able to master different things that he's trying to teach her. On top of that, that is the moment you have Sarah walk in. Now remember, Sarah was the woman who apparently loved Cyborg or was in love with Cyborg before he became Cyborg. And so to see him right now kind of happy to have another cyborg character around, especially a female character, it does kind of bother her because she can tell that basically Cyborg and Variant are kind of building a bond with one another. And of course, she's not going to step in and try to stop it, but it's her kind of like getting jealous of what they have. Now, that bond that Cyborg and Variant build, it builds very fast because the next section, bam, they're on a date. They're all on a date right now. They're hanging out. They're becoming a couple. And matter of fact, later on that night, they kind of do the cybernetic version of you know what in the bedroom. But either way, though, this is Cyborg kind of having a girlfriend now once again. And he's kind of happy about it. But here comes the thing, though. Right after that, they do fall asleep, but she wakes right back up and she says she remembers why she was in the Middle East. And of course, it was for a very top secret government mission. And so basically, we learn that Scarlet Taylor was in Iraq to basically shut down a possible army force being built that would sooner or later try to take over America. And so, of course, that was why she was sent there, to figure out what kind of plans they have and to hopefully shut them down. And now with her remembering why she was on that mission, you have her tell Cyborg that they need to go back over there to actually shut down this small militia group trying to grow and to hopefully take over America. So you do have Cyborg and Variant actually head over to Iraq to hopefully shut down that small army force. Now, when they get there, you have Cyborg kind of surprised to see how much, weapons they have in this small army's base, and basically meaning that this army has a lot of weapons to be used to hopefully help them take over America. But when you have Cyborg go deeper into the base, well, that is the moment he does run into a character known as Terrence Fisher. Now, Terrence Fisher is not really important for the overall storyline of DC Rebirth Cyborg. He's just here for this small moment and we're going to move on. But basically, he tells Cyborg that his goal is to use his small army force to hopefully take over America. And then he says the cliche of sooner or later taking over the world. But then you have Cyborg try to stop Terrence, but then Cyborg is shut down. And it's kind of like, what just happened to Cyborg? Now, when Cyborg wakes back up, he realized that he's being contained right now and unable to actually move. But he's wondering how in the world he was shut down, what happened to him when he tried to stop Terrence Fisher. And that is the moment we come to find out that basically Scarlet Taylor betrayed Cyborg. Yes, Variant, this new character that was supposed to be like a Cyborg sidekick or a Cyborg lover, is now a traitor. She was actually working with Terrence Fisher, and she's helping him right now getting the small army ready to attack America. Now, when it comes to the 4th chapter, that is the moment where you basically have Variant and Terrence kind of explain their master plan. Now, when I say master plan, honestly, it's a pretty good plan, but at the same time, it's kind of like, we already know they're not going to win. But either way, you have Variant tell Cyborg that their goal is to take over the Earth. Now, their first goal is to go after America. Now, they know they just can't go directly and attack America, because if they do, they're going to lose that battle very quickly. And so their master plan is to actually use Variant and her ability to use boom tubes. Because remember, boom tubes give you the ability to kind of teleport almost anywhere you want to go. Now, Cyborg was technically the only character on the Justice League who could do that. He could open up a boom tube almost anywhere to teleport the team anywhere they needed to go. And now with Variant being just a female version of Cyborg, she now has that ability as well. She's able to use a boom tube to teleport anywhere she wants to in the entire multiverse. And so right now, is her telling Cyborg what they're going to do is use boom tubes as a way to teleport small pieces of their armies and different places of America as a way to do surprise attacks. Because when you surprise your enemy, it gives them no chance to actually bounce back and defend themselves. And so this is her saying they will never see us coming. And sooner or later, we'll be able to actually take over the Earth. Now, of course, you do have Terrence come back in the room and he's all like, okay, it's time to go. Go ahead and basically release our boom tubes so we can send small armies in so that they'll be able to begin the attacks across the country of America. But the problem is, though, when Variant begins to use her boom tubes to teleport the small pieces of their army to different parts of America, they don't go where she wants them to go. Matter of fact, they go to different places. And of course, these places are the middle of the ocean. So hopefully Aquaman or Mera can save these soldiers. But basically, you have Cyborg say, no, I kind of realized that something was up with you as soon as you were testing boom tubes in the lab of Star Labs. And Sarah saw you as well. And when Sarah saw you, she warned me and my father, and we realized that we need some kind of backup plan to make sure that you are not going to betray us, just in case. And of course, here you are. Now, that backup plan was a computer program that gives me the ability to drain energy from you into me as a way to shut you down, but to also control you as well. So the boom tubes you open up was you, but of course, I was able to change those locations as a way to stop you. And so this is Cyborg saying, yes, you had a master plan, but I shut down that master plan very quickly, just in case you try to do anything at all. And you have Cyborg actually break out so that he can shut down Variant, which he does. But now his next goal is to go after Terrence. Now, this next section does kind of run by very quickly. And what I mean is that after Cyborg begins the process of shutting down Variant and thinking that he'll go after Terrence next, you have Terrence shoot some kind of electricity net that's basically draining the energy of Cyborg, meaning that sooner or later he'll have no energy to defend himself. So he has no choice but to wake Variant back up and to ask her for her help. Now, of course, Variant does help Cyborg, but the reason why she's going to help him now is because Terrence is kind of like, nope, you messed up and I'm not going to try to help you out at all. So basically meaning that even though you did become a female Cyborg as part of my overall take over the world plan, you just failed me. I cannot use you and I'm not going to use you. And since I cannot use you, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of you. And so you basically have him kind of just trapping Cyborg and Variant together. And Variant's kind of like, okay, if he's no longer caring for me, then I'm going to help Cyborg out. And so she does help Cyborg out. They do break out of the net and they do fight their way outside the base that belonged to Terrence. Now, once they do get outside the base, you do have Variant being able to shoot down the helicopter that Terrence is trying to escape with as a way to capture him and bring him back over to America so that he can go through the usual American justice system. Now, as soon as Cyborg and Variant actually arrive back at Star Labs, you have Cyborg find out that basically word was given to shut Variant down because technically she did betray the American government, of course, the government that she was working for. And so with that, she has to be shut down. Now, even though she did technically help Cyborg bring down Terrence, it still shows the world that she was at first a traitor, and a traitor cannot be trusted. And so this is them saying she has to be shut down. Now, the Cyborg, he thinks that this is basically a message saying that if you are a machine, you have no human rights. Even if you are half man, half machine, you don't have any rights at all. It's basically the Cyborg saying, because me and her are half machine, we're no longer able to have human rights. And that right there is not fair. But of course, he has no other choice but to shut down Variant and hand her over to the American government. And so that's technically the end of Variant for the time being. Now, as a way for us to go ahead and wrap up today's video, we actually do pick up with Solias right now trying to absorb the alien tech of Variant. Now remember, this is not the real Solias Stone, the father of Cyborg. This is the imposter who's right now pretending to be basically Solias Stone. But right now you actually have him trying to absorb the alien tech of Variant. Because remember, both Cyborg and Variant were both made thanks to a mother box, which comes from Apocalypse, which is technically alien tech. And so with that being said right there, right now you actually have our mysterious evil character trying to absorb the alien tech of Variant. Now, that is the moment you actually have Cyborg appear. Now, Cyborg is finally finding out that the last couple of days or weeks, he was never with his father, that he was with an imposter and he had no idea about it at all until this moment right here. But now with him knowing, he's kind of like, okay, it's time for me to go ahead and shut you down and finally stop you. But of course, when he tries to do that, because earlier our evil character was able to upload a program to help Cyborg take down Variant, that same program basically does give our evil character the ability to shut down Cyborg. And so now Cyborg has been defeated and now being held hostage. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time.